When you can't breathe, nothing else matters.
And that's why you really need to love your lungs.
And this is Chick to Chick. Lung health is so important. I don't think people realize that lung cancer is the #1 cancer killer of men and women in this country. In fact, nearly 400 people die of lung cancer every single day. That's 16 people every hour. And we need to focus on our lungs, and we need to love our lungs.
Yes, we absolutely do. I think we learned a lot more about loving our lungs. I mean, we went through COVID. All you were hearing was, I can't breathe, lungs being in distress, COVID pneumonia. I think I learned a lot more about lung health outside of what we typically think about, and that would be, lung disease, COPD, and something that is really important, and that's asthma, right?
Oh, and that just brings back memories for me. My son had asthma when he was a child, and when you see your child not being able to breathe, it's so unnerving. And one story that comes to mind, I mean, this is crazy, but this was back, he was 5 or 6 years old, and I was anchoring a newscast, and literally, during a commercial break, one of my coworkers comes in and says, Flora, you need to get off the set. I said, well, why? Did I do something? She goes, you need to get off the set. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, the school nurse called and Sean can't breathe. He's having an asthma attack.
So scary.
And just right now, it's just bringing up the hair on the back of my neck. I got off the set in the middle of a commercial break, got in the car, drove 90 miles an hour to get to this school. I grabbed my son. He's gasping for air and rushed him to the doctor. And I'm like, he can't breathe. I just barged into the doctor's office. And it reminds me of that commercial. Do you remember that commercial that the little boy was saying, when I can't breathe?
Yes,
I feel like
that.
A fish out of water.
Yeah.
And so it really, really drives home the importance of lung health, which brings us to our guest today. Molly Piscitano is with the American Lung Association here in Pennsylvania. Molly, it's such a pleasure to have you. And please tell us, why is it so important for us to be talking about and focusing on lung health?
Absolutely. Well, thank you both so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. And as you know, lung health is increasingly important. It's always important. As you mentioned earlier, when you can't breathe, nothing else matters. And it's just been shown over the past couple of years how critical lung health is, being that we're still facing in an ongoing lung health pandemic. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk about, a variety of the lung health issues that the American Lung Association is focusing on.
And we're excited to hear what you have to say, but I quickly want to ask about an event that you have coming up called Day at the Capitol. What is that all about?
Absolutely. So Day at the Capitol is our annual Advocacy Day event where we have hundreds of students and tobacco control and lung health advocates rally together to speak with their legislators about these important tobacco control and lung health issues that I mentioned that we are focusing on. And this year it's happening on May 3rd. And now a few years ago, really, we had it in person, but the past couple of years and now this year, of course, we are moving forward with virtual. We hope to be in person again one day, hopefully next year. But virtually, we're still able to, have a great chance to speak with our legislators about these important issues.
They are so important. And I know you have two organizations that take part in this day at the Capitol. One's called PACT, and the other one is called True. What do these two organizations stand for, and how are they involved with Day at the Capitol?
Yes, that's correct. So PACT is the Pennsylvania Alliance to Control Tobacco. It is a statewide coalition managed under the American Lung Association and funded by the Pennsylvania Department of Health. And this statewide coalition educates the public and elected officials about any tobacco control issue, you name it, from clean indoor air, tobacco taxes, flavored tobacco, and other critical tobacco issues. Previously, we worked on Tobacco 21, increasing the tobacco sales age from 18 to 21. And so we work with a variety of people who are just really passionate about reducing secondhand smoke exposure, and about helping people quitting tobacco, and really anyone who's interested in policy and action for a healthier Pennsylvania. Now, TRUE, as you mentioned, is our tobacco resistance unit, and that is also a statewide coalition managed under the American Lung Association and funded through the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Now, this is specifically for youth. It's for teens all throughout PA, ages 12 to 18, to help them stay tobacco-free through community outreach and prevention education. So they do a lot of really exciting activities across the state in order to help with that peer-to-peer education on hopefully ending tobacco use for the next generation.
And you talk about teenagers. One of the things that we have heard so much about is vaping, and how just it can kill a kid. And I don't think they know much about it. And I know that it's rampant still in schools. So you have something that's vape-free schools. Can you explain?
Yes, we have. So through the American Lung Association specifically, there is a vape-free schools initiative. And as you mentioned, unfortunately, we're still, while we're in this lung health pandemic, we're still facing this ongoing issue with e-cigarettes as well, with well over 2 million U.S. middle and high school students still using e-cigarettes. So vape-free schools initiative through the American Lung Association is really great. It helps to provide guidance to schools who want to either implement or strengthen their tobacco-free policy to make them completely 100% vape-free. It offers guidance on providing that prevention education and cessation resources to help teens quit vaping and using e-cigarettes in schools if needed. And in addition to that, it provides policy guidance, as I mentioned, with providing or implementing or strengthening your tobacco-free policy in schools or vape-free policy. And it provides, again, that guidance for students and parents and staff within that school and community. So it's really a great resource. Again, it can be found through the American Lung Association at lung.org.
This whole issue of vaping drives me insane because I hear kids saying, I vape because it's safer than smoking.
Right.
And
it's
I'm
not
like,
a big deal.
Who's telling you that it's safer than smoking? The people the vape company?
Yeah, really believe that.
I mean, why are they buying into this? And I think it's important that you're having kids telling other kids why vaping isn't safe, because they're not listening to mom.
Right. They're not listening
to
the adults.
To us. They think we're crazy. Does it help when a kid gives the message to another child?
Definitely. As you mentioned, Flora, they don't want to hear from, authoritative figures like they or mom, they want to hear from their friends. If they see someone who's a little bit older, a teenager that they look up to and admire, and they say that vaping's not cool, they're more likely to listen to them than they are, teachers and parents kind of pushing the information down their throats. So the peer-to-peer education method really is great and more effective.
Yeah, it's so important. I know you have another initiative that you're working on to get asthma meds in school. And of course, that would have meant
a lot in your situation.
Gosh. Wow. I mean, Molly, I can't even tell you the panic that went through my heart that day when they said your son can't breathe.
And that they can't do anything.
They can.
That's, I think, the scary part. They can't do anything.
I mean, I literally was driving 90 miles an hour, and I thought, if I get pulled over,
they're going to have to follow me. No, they're going to have to follow me.
I wasn't stopping. I mean, I saw my son having asthma attacks. I saw him gasping for air. So when I got that call, I was beyond panic. How helpful would it be to have asthma meds readily available in schools? And how many kids are dealing with this type of situation?
That's a great question. When you tell that story, being a new mom myself, it's terrifying. It just brings tears to my eyes to imagine, that anyone would have to go through that. And, asthma impacts, as we know, millions of lives. And in Pennsylvania alone, nearly 270,000 children have asthma. Really, it's time that we really help these kids even more. And so, as you mentioned, we are working on an initiative that would allow schools in Pennsylvania to stock that emergency asthma medication so that if someone's having an asthma attack in school and they don't have their inhaler, because a lot of times people might only have one inhaler because they are expensive and that might be at home. So to have that emergency asthma medication at school would really be critical. And in addition to that, a lot of the times, because kids spend so much time at school, they might experience their first respiratory distress at school and not at home, in which case they need that medication immediately. So this would allow schools to have staff or school nurses on hand who are trained to be able to provide this emergency asthma medication for anyone, as we said, who experiences an onset of cough, shortness of breath, and chest tightness that signals an asthma attack. And this medication is very safe. About 15 states have already passed such legislation in the U.S. So we're hoping that this would be great for Pennsylvania next, and that Pennsylvania could be a part of that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. That'd be fantastic. Let's just circle back a little bit. Molly, we talked about Day at the Capitol. Where can people register for this event?
Great question. So for Day at the Capitol, you can register online at pactedonline.org. That's through our statewide coalition. And we do have, for those who are interested in being a part of the legislative visits, encourage people to be PACT and true members. But we do have a virtual community forum that's open to the public, where they'll have a chance to listen to lung health experts and those involved in our programs like True. They'll be able to hear from students and their perspective on vaping. And they'll also be able to hear, some of the great work that's being done throughout the Commonwealth to address the issues of secondhand smoke and clean indoor air, asthma, as we mentioned, because it also falls on World Asthma Day. And then also, again, the great tobacco prevention and cessation work being done to highlight the importance of funding for our programs.
Well, this was all tremendous information, Molly. We loved having you on. We loved all of this great information. And again, Day at the Capitol is coming up. It's May 3rd, correct?
Correct.
May 3rd. Molly, thanks so much for joining us.
Molly.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Molly.
Well, first of all, when you share that story that happened to Sean, it is terrifying. I didn't realize how young he was.
Yeah.
But I tell you, it would go a long way if
Yeah.
schools could provide that support, that relief. I'm sure the schools would feel great about it. Parents would feel a lot better about it. All in total, I think it's amazing what the Lung Association does to really reach out in all the ways that support lung health.
Well, and what Molly pointed out, okay, you have an inhaler. They're expensive. Some families cannot afford to have an inhaler at home, one at school.
Or to get lost in a backpack.
And that happens a lot. They're kids. And they're like, where's your inhaler? I don't know.
Right.
They're kids. So I think that would have a big impact and help a lot of kids. And we just love educating people about this very important issue because, again, if you can't breathe, nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm. No, we appreciate you being with us today. We hope you'll come back when we chirp about another topic.